7 on May 6th. We have a quorum, and we'll open up the meeting. The planning board, and first item is we have meeting notes of March 18th, April 1st, April 15th, and April 29th, okay?
I have a question. Were there any changes to the March 18th meeting notes?
Changes from,
From the first one that Kate sent?
sorry, I got a real pen. Oh, all right, you already wanted to make changes, correct?
Yeah, I had requested some.
Okay, well, what I did see is, and I watched the tape, it didn't say that. These are minutes, not notes, but
Okay, so my requested edits were not incorporated?
no, because we're gonna discuss it tonight. They just don't get in. I don't think they belong, what you wanted to part about, not voting, the last two items you wanted to add on that line. The other ones were fine, but,
Okay, sorry, I thought you were voting. Go ahead, proceed.
so, well, what's anyone else think? We got 5 members.
Why don't we vote the ones not in question and then come back to that? No?
Those are the ones with the chair and the select board, that wonderful stuff. Those are just, what do you call it? Housekeeping, and which was changed from whatever back in November. But, so,
Oh, no, Jack, I'm sorry. I meant, why don't we vote the minutes, the meetings that aren't in question, and then come back to the ones with
okay,
the rest?
we can do that. Okay.
Some questions on the last week's meeting too, the minutes.
Okay, then forget it, sorry.
Then forget it, okay. Then we'll start, let's get some out of the way. I'll make a motion to approve April 1st. Do I have a second?
Second,
Any discussions, any issues anybody had? No? All in favor, Katie?
aye.
John?
Aye,
Phil?
muted.
Phil, I think you're muted, as John said. Wow.
What's that?
Whoa, it's like you have a helium balloon there, Phil.
Phil turned into a chipmunk.
Give us a thumbs up so we can see you voting okay. And fine.
Yes or no, Phil? We can't hear you. There's a problem with the audio.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Aye, there we go.
Aye.
Microphone. Okay.
Okay. Sarah?
Hi.
And Jack, aye. Ayes have it, 500. April 15th. Make a motion to approve.
Second,
Do we have any discussions? There being none. John?
aye,
Sarah?
Hi.
Phil?
Aye.
Kate?
Aye.
Jack? Aye. Okay. April 29th. Depends
have
on what
some
it is, John. What was the issue?
it was the notes concerning what I was speaking of early on the parking, whatever, wasn't correct.
Wasn't correct how?
I was talking about marking out the locations, I think. Whether they would have to be laid out somehow on the ground or the lots, rather than just the size of the parking spots.
Okay. Well, those just came out, what, yesterday? Today? All right. Why don't we hold those, John?
Okay,
Because they just come out? All right. back to March 18th. So I had a couple corrections, ones of which were changed to select board and chair. As far as I'm concerned, I'll make a motion for those.
When you join, were you muted?
Anybody who's not on the board, please mute yourself. Thank you. So I have that in the form of a motion for those 2 out of 3 I think Sarah had. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Yeah, that's a second by Phil. Okay, all those in favor of making those 2 corrections? Phil?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Katie?
Aye.
Jack? Aye, okay. Now, what you wanted corrected wasn't necessarily what was said when I went back to look at the tape. That's all. Not saying it isn't true, Sarah, it's just the way it went on the tape, that's all.
Okay. For the qualifications on the time, I will agree to that. But that you requested, that you made a motion to request that I now participate, that was there, and I would like that on the minutes.
That's fine, I know I did that, yep.
Okay.
All right, well, we'll take those. You wanna do that as a motion, Sarah?
Sure, to amend the minutes, to include that the chair, made a motion to request that the board, not allow me, Sarah Katib, to participate in the planning board meeting.
Okay. I'll second that. Any further discussions? All those in favor? Sarah?
Aye?
John?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Kate?
Aye.
Jack? Aye. Okay, so are we all set?
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on, since we got a few minutes here before we get in, we have an A&R for Boyden Place. That just came in, probably why we didn't get it. And as we all know, we got 20 days of which to approve it, and it would make our next meeting, so we have to do it tonight. Everybody had a chance to look at it? Anybody have any comments?
I'd just like to hear from Carl on it, but yeah.
Well, I'll give one comment right off the bat. The fact that the plan is wrong, because on the lower right side, it says the plan of land, Walpole, Massachusetts, Middlesex County. Well, if we were in Natick, this might fly, but not in Walpole. So we have no choice other than to not endorse, because we can't have this to go forward.
Mr. Chairman?
I don't know who's speaking. Oh,
Yes,
Kyle.
It's
Oh, there you
Carl.
are. Okay.
Yeah, there are two other corrections that need to be made, one to the plan reference and one to the book and page, I believe of the owner. I have not marked up, plans in Kate's office, but I put a couple of notes on them, so they need to be amended as well.
Okay. All right.
Other than that, it seems, like with those things corrected, it could be endorsed.
Okay. So I'll make a motion not to endorse a plan of land.
Second.
Okay, we have a second. Andy from Katie, and that was from Boyden Estates. Have a second from Katie. All those in favor? Katie?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
Phil?
Aye.
Jack? Aye. I think I got everybody right. Oh, John, sorry. John?
Aye.
Okay. 500, not to endorse. Okay. What else we have? Not my mic. All right. Next item before we hit the other stuff, we have a procedures for Sarah. You wanted that on? Okay. Want to explain, Sarah?
Sure. So I just wanted to take a moment really to clear my name and respond to some things that the chair has said in relation to me. So for anybody who had not watched previous meetings, it was referenced on March 4th meeting and March 18th. And I just wanted to give a quick overview before I give some comments. So in those meetings, Chair Conray noted that a member of the board, me, did not swear in a timely manner after being elected. So in June of 2020, both the chair and I were on the ballot. We were both uncontested and both reelected. So as people may recall, in June of 2020, Massachusetts and Walpole was in a state of emergency. And following the election, I got an email from the town clerk, which I assume went to all persons elected or reelected, stating that town hall was closed due to the state of emergency, but please call to make an appointment for your swearing in. So my mistake, I forgot about that and I did not go make that appointment. So as I said in previous meetings, I do sincerely apologize. I apologize to the members of this board. I apologize to the people of Walpole for this oversight. Immediately following the election and ever since, I have continued to do the work of the planning board. Not only do I come to our meetings, having done a thorough review of all applications, I continue to spend my time, money, and energy in learning about housing and planning issues and doing my utmost to bring that knowledge to Walpole in terms of policy and zoning changes and in resident outreach. So in early October 2020, while I was at the town clerk's office and I was made aware that I had not yet sworn in, I was sworn in. In my discussion with the town clerk on that day, she advised me that perhaps votes I had taken during that time, which is June through October 2020, may not count. And I considered that for a moment. And I thought how we weren't having public hearings due to the state of emergency. We had had a few public meetings and I didn't think there was really any significant votes. And I told her that and she said, okay. And I said, okay. And I, pretty much forgot about it. Then the chair became aware of this fact that I wasn't sworn in a timely manner. And he stated in a meeting that, he was going to have town council look into it. And I thought, yeah, great, sure. That seems like a prudent thing to do. So town council could weigh in and advise the board. So this could have been a simple request for an opinion. Instead, the chair composed a 2-page memo asking, among other things, if I were a legal member of the board, if the public had any recourse against the delay, if I could be terminated from the board, and if there were any ethical considerations. So I welcome town council's opinion on the matter when he brought it up. And, it could have been a simple request, but it turned rather ugly. So at the March 18th public hearing, the chair, not yet having received the response from town council, asked that I not participate in the planning board meeting, and then took the audacious step of making a formal motion that the board vote to take away my ability as an elected member to participate in the meeting. Thankfully, no one seconded that motion.
Making a formal motion
Town council did respond, and I can post the full response if people are interested.
as an elected member.
But to summarize, if someone could please mute, there are no challenges to me being on the ballot or being reelected. There are no challenges to any decision made by the planning board during the time of June through October. As I continued to carry out the duties of a planning board member, I was acting, quote, as a de facto member, and that I continued to discharge the duties of a planning board member in full view of the public. And given that I was sworn in October, she did not see a risk to the board's continuing work. Her opinion, therefore, was that the courts would not sustain a challenge to me holding the position of a planning board member. But even then, the chair could not let this go, and he wrote another letter to town council requiring the town to incur more legal expenses and pen an additional opinion. Again, I can post the full opinion if people are interested, but I'll read this portion of Attorney Goldberg's response. Quote, "In this case, my understanding is that the individual at issue was properly elected and that there was no challenge to the same pending in any forum with respect to the propriety of that election. It is my further understanding that no challenge has since been brought to the work undertaken by the planning board during the time frame which the duly elected member had yet to be sworn in. For these reasons, in my opinion, the actions of the planning board at that time and now are presumed to be regular. My opinion, the whole matter has been a colossal waste of the board's time and town funds. It could have been handled with a short request and resolved with town council's
I don't have a
assistance.
son to do.
Again, I do acknowledge my error and I apologize, but the actions of the chair will not be forgotten and have created a dysfunction on this board that was previously working well together. The actions of the chair, in my opinion, consistent with past behavior, are petty, unprofessional, and demonstrate a failure of leadership. And perhaps at this time, he owes this board and the public an apology. That's it.
You all set?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So, I have now become the bad guy. Okay, we'll go back, Sarah. You've attacked me. I've been very nice to you. I haven't attacked you. Gloves are off. We met 4 times at the high school from July to October. So much for the COVID. You were at all the meetings.
Correct.
Came down here to get your packet. Correct? Because it was never mailed. There's only a few of us got out mailed to us. Is that correct?
I don't think it was the packet, but it was for something else, yeah.
Okay, so you did not, I speak, I didn't interrupt you, okay? So you decide, you didn't get sworn in, which is your duty. That's the simplest duty you have after you become elected, to get sworn in, all right? Then you go down in October and you need to get sworn in, I think, for 2 things.
We haven't started yet, Tim.
Please, anybody else, would you mute your, we don't need to hear you, thank you. So, what we have here is, you went down and got sworn in by the clerk. I did speak to the clerk, because I asked her right off the bat when I found this out. What do you know, whether this is legal or not, what's happened? She says, I don't know, I don't make those judgment calls. Okay, fine. So at that point, while you were on our board, you knew you did 4 meetings without being sworn in. At that time, it was on your obligation to either you go yourself directly to town council or something to find out, or at least tell the board what you were doing. But you chose not to do that. I can speculate, because you're speculating how petty I am. I'm speculating that you thought no one would find out about it, because I can't think of any other reason. When I did find this out, very simple, on that March 4th, I didn't say any names. And you know what? Nobody came forward. Being you didn't come forward. You could have, you didn't. You sat there. So you left me with no alternative. And as I said before, my job here is to make sure we, as the town, the board, don't make mistakes that cause other people just because we're too inept. And that's what happened. So I went to town council to ask on all this. I didn't get a real great answer because nobody gives a great answer. And on the second one, it didn't even name you on the second one. The reason for the second one had nothing to do with you, Sarah, had to do with what happened on a zoning board hearing where the town council for the zoning board had indicated that one of the members on the zoning board was not in conflict because he hadn't been sworn in and said he couldn't participate in anything. When I heard that night, that's what I wanted out of town council. We had one from Lauren Goldberg originally to us, and then we have town council, another woman on TV saying just the opposite. That's why I went there. I wanted this cleared up. As far as I owe the board apology. No, I don't owe the board anything. I was doing my job. As far as being petty, I hardly call this being petty. So if you want to continue thinking I'm petty and dividing the board, I don't see how. But once again, the way this world is today is always shift the blame back from the victim to the victims, not the person who did it. You did it. I gave you had a time in October to tell us and seek counsel. You did. You had time on March 4th to say I did it and let me go figure it out on my own, and you did. You left me with no alternative. That's all I have to say on this, and it really wasn't about procedures. It was more about tonight, the way you had it listed wasn't about procedures. It was about trying to clear the air on what you did and what I did. So that being
Yeah, well, I used the same language that you used. I believe.
Sarah, once again, you interrupted me. Okay? I don't interrupt. If you ever noticed, you go back to every meeting. I don't interrupt people because I respect what they have to say and I wait my turn. And I would ask you to do the same. So what we have here is very simple. I don't think it's even my word against yours. If you want to say I'm the big bad boogeyman, I don't care, but I'm serving the town for doing that. I wasn't getting any gain out of this. I know you're trying to clear your name and give a reason why it all happened and then trying to maybe spread the blame on me so that some of your people out there, your supporters, will see that maybe it was me and not you. No, it comes down to this. You didn't get sworn in. When you did, you didn't tell anybody. You had an opportunity in March. You had three. I think that's the 3 strikes you're out. So that's all I have to say on this. Thank you.
I'd like to make a comment.
Go ahead, Katie.
So I'm a big believer in we should all be able to work together, disagree, and walk away still civil and talking and able to get along. And I just have to say you struck a chord with me when you said Jack was causing a disconnect with a board that worked together, because I took great offense to you back at our meeting on the tennis courts. What was that, October, November?
October.
Directly after that, calling John, Jack, and I out, criticizing us, saying we were uninformed and ridiculing us for our votes. So I think something like that causes a disconnect and issues bigger than questioning rules and procedures. So I'm not commenting on, I don't want to get into it, but I think we're really, talk about being petty, we are getting into that, being petty, because, you can't throw stones when you live in a glass house. So that's all. I just think you have to, if you're going to act one way, you can't expect everyone to just look the other way and let you abuse them. That's all.
Okay. Okay. I'll go to John. Do you have anything to say?
This time,
You all set? Okay.
yes.
Phil, do you have anything on this subject?
Yeah, and first of all, I do think we need to work together as a board, and we all need to do our part to do that. I think the question on Sarah's issue was, and I'm not making any judgments, but just, I think the logical thing would have been to call her and say what happened. And I think her point about going to the attorney, that could have been done and found an answer, and it would have just been cleared up without making it a big thing. So I do want to go on the record that at that hearing, you had made the motion to, that she could not vote. And I think I raised the point that you can't do that. You can't take away the vote of an elected official. And you did not make that motion in the end, you changed it. So So I don't think it's healthy though and beneficial for us as a board to, to revisit things forever. But I do think Sarah was owed an explanation, and people would have seen the letter. And I think it's good that people know the whole story. So I think that was a fair thing to do.
Okay, Phil, question for you.
Yes.
You didn't get sworn in for the housing partnership, correct?
I did not at one point. That's correct.
And it was in the meeting notes, and you didn't participate because you told them that.
That's correct.
Then why? Now, wasn't it incumbent upon Sarah when she didn't get sworn in at that time to notify people?
Well, I think the big thing I was told is as long as I didn't vote for him.
No. You make it 3 steps down the road that I'm the bad guy. No, you did it, but she didn't. Wasn't it incumbent upon her at that time? Yes or no?
Well, I did it because.
But no, I asked, was it incumbent upon Sarah at the time she got sworn in October to at least inform somebody?
Well, it might have been nice. I can't.
Okay, nice. Okay.
But,
all right. Was it incumbent upon when that March 4th date to at least have said something?
Yeah, I think that all put us kind of wondering what's going on. I think she made a mistake. She moved on. She found out that there was no vote, that she knew that there was no vote that she was involved in. So it was not an issue. That's confirmed, by the way, what I was told by the town clerk at the time, and my issue, that any vote I had made would not have been valid. That's
okay. So now I just want to get understand from Sarah, by failing to get sworn in, by failing to tell us, by failing to not notify her on March 4th when you had it, that's okay. But I never should have done what I did. Thank you. That's all I need to know.
Yeah. I think it's more, maybe you didn't need to make it quite so public, and it could have been just handled in a very simple letter to the attorney and get an answer, and then.
Okay, I didn't make it public on March 4th, did I, Phil?
I don't remember,
Okay, I will tell you exactly. It's funny you don't remember. Remember, everybody remembers very clearly what happened. I said there was a member on here that didn't get sworn in. It was all laid out on the table. Nobody knew who it was except me and the person who didn't get sworn in. How much more do I got to lay it on the table? Am I supposed to go up and whisper, oh, by the way, you didn't get sworn in? Is that my job? No, we're all adults. You get voted by the public to do your job. I am not the mother hen of the board. But I did 0 wrong. This could have been done back. If it had been done back in October, I wouldn't have had a big issue with it because let Sarah go out and do it if they come back. But if you read the answer on the second one about if they come back, well, you should. They never gave a definitive answer. They never gave an answer according to any Mass General law. So it's one of those that's up in the air. So I guess anything else, Phil? I'll go back to Sarah before we move on.
No, other than like I said, I think we need to be, things happen. We all work with each other to help each other, and so we need to move on.
Okay. All right. And anything else? Ready to move on?
Could I just say one quick thing, Mr. Chairman?
Yep.
So just on March 4th, when you first brought it up and you said you were going to seek town council's opinion, I thought that was fine. I mean, I didn't feel a need to say anything because you said you were seeking opinion, a legal opinion, and I think that's fine. So that's why I didn't say anything. It's no point in, discussing it. As you noted, I'm not an attorney, so let's hear from the attorney.
Well, you've already said you talked to the clerk, who definitely is not an attorney. She's told me that as such. But
Right,
once again,
yeah.
okay. In my world, and I think 99% of the world here, is very simple. You had 3 shots at this and you didn't do it. Now I'm getting blamed for seeking. You left me with no alternative. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's blaming you. I just wanted to point out, the way it was handled. I think I don't agree with the way it was handled. You're not the bad guy. I don't appreciate the way you handled it.
Okay, so
as a leader of this board.
Okay, as a leader. Okay, you're all about transparency, correct?
Sure.
So I should have done this in secret and send you a little secret email. Oh, by the way, sorry, you forgot to get. We're going to find this out, and no one would know about it. That's not being transparent, is it?
You can state it in a meeting without being so personal about it and being so like, wanting to take away my ability to participate in a meeting and stating that, you want to have me removed from the board. These kind of things are a little bit beyond just like, hey, town council, could you please advise us? We have this situation on the board.
Oh, hey, I didn't say remove you from the board. I said not me. That would have had to been done if you had broke the law. I said there's that potential you could be removed. I never said any of that was actual law. So, but once again, I'll go back. You knew you had a problem in October, and that's where it died. So, and as far as being transparent, I don't believe you were being transparent. I believe I was 100% transparent. So, all right.
Okay. Let's move on.
Oh, thank you. Okay. The hour being after 7:15, we have a public hearing, continued public hearing for MR subdivision. We have from the attorneys for Bristol Brothers, and it says, as you're aware, we represent the Bristol Brothers Development with respect to pending application of industrial subdivision at the 55-acre property on Renmar Ave. We request further continuance until August 21st. And with that being said, we would like to give you a extension up through September 30th, 2021. So with that being said, I'll make a motion to, accept a extension through September 30th, 2021. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussions? All those in favor? Sarah?
Question,
Aye.
question.
Okay, go ahead, John.
Is this the same as the AQV that got
Yeah.
voted?
Yep.
This is still open for some particular reason then, or
They
why?
haven't told us why. There's got to be some reason why. I mean, he's going ahead with the AQVs. I have no idea. But he keeps giving us extensions, so
Okay,
maybe he gets paid for each extension, John. Or he does.
lawyer does, yeah.
So, are you all set?
Yes,
Okay. I had that in the form of motion, and it was seconded by Phil, I believe.
Yes.
Okay, Phil,
Aye.
Sarah,
Aye.
Kate,
Aye.
John,
aye,
Jack, aye. Okay, so this is continuing up through September 30th, and it'll be continued to August 19th at 7:10. Okay, that's when it's done. Next one, New World Estates. World Estates is, okay, it's for everybody who doesn't know what New World Estates is. That's Peach Street. And I have a letter here from Legacy Engineering dated April 30th, and it says, on behalf of the applicant, RD Associates, I request a continuance up through July 30th, 2021. I'll make that in the form of a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Katie. Okay, all those in favor? Kate,
Aye.
John,
aye.
Sarah,
Aye.
Phil,
Aye.
Jack, aye. Okay, and he wants it June 17th. When do we have it, Kate? Okay, this will be continued at June 17th at 7:10 p.m. Okay, so if anybody out there was watching, now they didn't want to open it up yet, so it's being continued to June 17th at 7:10 p.m. for New World Estates on Peach Street, off of Peach Street, I should say. Okay. Now, moving on to the next one. It's time. What smell? There you go. All right. Now, moving on to our 7:20 hearing. Yep. Notice hereby given the planning board that Public hearing via Zoom will be held on Thursday, May 6th at 7:20. An application from Welch Brothers Building Company, 11 Saddle Way, Walpole, for a 24-lot subdivision located across the northerly side of Lincoln Road and the end of Deerfield Drive. The land consists of 28.8 acres of undeveloped woodland, shown as map 38, parcel 2324 in the rural district. The deed of property is registry book 14-485, page 146, and book 5000, page 380. The owners of said property are John Hasnager, P.O. Box 661, Norwood, and Philip Lasivita, personal representative of the estate of Walter Lasivita at 107 Polly Lane, East Walpole. With the plan dated February 21st, 2021 by GLM Engineering, and this will be held in accordance with Chapter 4181T as amended. Okay, so with that being said, the hearing is open. Before I get going, I believe the cards were all set. And for myself, I had filed back in 2019 when we had this before us, as I'm a member of the gun club, but I'm not a voting member. And it said that I can participate in any meetings because I have no say whatsoever on the gun club. I have derived no benefit. I'm just a dues paying member. Just want to get that cleared out before we start. I know we got people out there for the applicant. And before I begin, I did dig something up that has been kicking around here, and I'm going to throw it out now because I do believe it's going to affect the plan. And what I have is a easement, and this was presented to the board. Well, nobody's on here other than me, about 20 years ago by the gun club. The president of the time, I remember, was Ray Allison, knew Ray, and also the attorney, Phil Mackey Sr., when they were doing the range house. And part of it, they had approved to us that they had access to it. And what we have here is a easement that was granted, the way I read it is 1897, that allows the owners to pass over the premises for all purposes and enjoy on their behalf. The issue with that right now is this is an easement. When I read the application, it was checked off. There were no easements. And the fact that this is not defined, it is someone, at the time it was called like a floating easement, meaning at any time, people who have the rights, the easement rights, which is the gun club, they could say, nah, I'm gonna go over here now. So we can't have that. All easements must be shown on the plan per Mass General laws and subdivision control. And right now, going forward with this, without this resolved, it's kind of ludicrous because, you know, I know they're dealing with the board of the gun club or a few members. I'm not party to that. So I'm not sure, nothing's been worked out. I don't see anything on the papers and so on. The other thing I will bring up, I don't want anybody to scream out there, is I'm not sure on the application because it was checked off, no easements. I'm not sure if this is okay to go forward with or not. And my recommendation is not being able to make the call. I wouldn't make the call for anybody on this. So I don't think anybody on board could, is to ask town council, if you have this easement but wasn't checked off, is there an issue there or not? And my thought is we should check that out first before we go forward. Because what I would hate to have is a plan like this go forward, and because we didn't do our checking and it was incorrect, and that could be subject to an appeal. And it'd be a bona fide appeal. So I don't want to get too deep into it. And that's what my suggestion is, that we would do it. So with that being said, I'll ask the applicant who's speaking for it to weigh in on this before we get any deeper into it. So
Mr. Chairman, good evening. Brian Almeida for the applicant. And I'm with Rob Truax as well, to the extent that we're going to discuss the plan engineering-wise. So, Mr. Chairman, we ran a title on this property and we didn't see this easement in the chain of title. But notwithstanding that, we have, as you said, been in discussion with the gun club with respect to various issues. While I certainly appreciate you pointing out this issue, we do want to go forward tonight, notwithstanding the risk.
Well, by understanding this exists, whether it was on the title, however, but it does exist. Okay, let me ask you another thing, Brian. Are you going to tell me that the gun club has no easement for the property?
In general, or specific to this one?
Do they have easement rights to get from Lincoln Road up to their property?
I think that's sort of an open question. I know that I've been discussing it with the gun club and their council, whether or not there's a prescriptive easement. Again, we're still sort of in that discussion, but with respect to the chain of title, I don't think there's anything definitive on that issue, but we're certainly attempting to work on that with the club.
So, I'm not going to be a lawyer here. So, my understanding is, in order to get from a public road to your back property, there would have to be an easement of sorts. If there wasn't, then the gun club would not exist, or they could just knock them out. So, there has to be something. This is what I have in my hand. I know it, like I said, it was kicking around a long time ago because that came up on how they got up there. From what I was told, is the road that goes along the right side of the property, closest to the Little Wanderers. It actually, if you do look at it on a map, it snakes into the Little Wanderers property a little. So it's really more of a path and not an easement. So wouldn't they have to wouldn't something had it been written to allow this to continue as such as an easement?
Not necessarily. If we want to go even further back, I think there was an arrangement between the property owner where I think there was a grant to send several children to a camp in exchange for the ability to cross over the property. So while it wasn't an easement, there was certainly some sort of vague, I don't want to call it a lease, but some sort of arrangement between the property owner and the club to allow them to traverse through the property. And since the owner has now passed away, that agreement is no longer in effect, but it hasn't been the 20 years since then to establish a restrictive easement. So I think we're sort of in a definitive gray area on that. But I certainly acknowledge that, yes, to have a property back there, there needs to be some way to get to it. Whether or not it constitutes an easement, I don't think so at this point. But again, we are in discussions with the club to get them to have some sort of access point as part of this project.
Okay, actually it was highlighted and it did say reserving the owners of certain meadow and wood lots the right to pass over the premises that for all intents and purposes herefore used and enjoyed by them, their heirs, and the signs forever. And reading it, this is pretty big history. Something about a deed in 1878, and this goes way back. This is before anybody, even before Walter himself. This was whoever he bought it off of. So this has been in existence for quite some time. And you didn't find it?
No.
Okay, I'm sure the attorneys for the gun club have a copy of this because that's how I got it originally. It's way back and whenever they did the range house, I'm not sure. So this is in existence, okay? So I guess the question is, you say you never saw it, and can you attest that it doesn't exist and you want to go forward? Because you do run the risk of that if there is, in fact, an easement and a bona fide easement, you do have something checked off that says there are no easements. So at that point, I'd like to ask how you would like to proceed, because it's not my call on this.
I appreciate pointing this out, Mr. Chairman. It hasn't come up yet in our discussions with the club, so I don't know if certainly if they're aware of it. I haven't gotten it from them, but notwithstanding, I appreciate pointing out that concern. But we do want to go forward despite this.
Okay. If this does come out, your plan could go be torched and redo it again, I guess. So, all right. With that being said,
Jack, can I just ask a clarification?
Yep.
So you blatantly said you have a deed that has an easement on it, correct?
Yeah.
And the application says there is no easement.
correct.
So even though they want to go forward, don't we need that straightened out before we go forward? I mean, a deed's a legal document.
Yeah, I understand that, Kate. I'm not the lawyer. This was given to me before. I wouldn't want to have our board make that case. Their attorney has said that they're all set, so it's a matter of, battle of legal, so they're confident. Okay, so they're not admitting they even know this exists. So it's like we have it, they don't.
No, I get that. I just don't see how,
I don't
I just see a different point of view, I guess, that's all.
Yeah, but well, they're running the risk of this, I guess. So, and they said they want to go forward. So that being said, we'll move forward. Okay. So with that being said, who's presenting tonight for the applicant?
Team effort, Mr. Chairman. I'm here to answer any legal questions such as the ones we've been presented with thus far, and Mr. Truax is here to present the plans in earnest. So happy to pass the ball to him if the time's right.
Yeah, I mean, that was the legal one that popped up here. So, okay, let's rock and roll. Who's speaking?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Rob Truax, GLM Engineering Consultants. We're the civil engineers, land surveyors for the project. I'll present the plan. If you allow me to share my screen, I can pull up some plans on the thing here. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, pull it up. Oh, let me say something, Rob, before you get started. I keep forgetting it's a Zoom. Most people don't understand. With the public hearing being open, they're going forward. What we do allow is the applicant to present his project to us. At the conclusion of his presentation, we're not getting down to the nitty gritty as far as, what elevation things are at. But once he does his overall presentation, then we'll read the comments from the various boards and committees and any other comments that have been received by us. Then we'll turn it over to each member of the planning board who has questions. And after that, we will open it up to any member of the public, and that will at the end of the hearing, and everyone will get to have an opportunity to speak, and be in Zoom. It's going to be a little difficult. I mean, I'll get to everybody. If someone doesn't hear me, just speak up, and I'll flip my camera thing to you. So all I'm saying is, for any member of the public out there, if you wait to the end, you will have an opportunity to speak. Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Rob.
Okay, thank you. So I believe everyone can see my screen. So what I'm showing is the existing site conditions for the project. As it was stated in the legal ad, this property is located on the northerly side of Lincoln Road, off the end of Deerfield Drive. The site is comprised of 2 parcels, each totaling 14.4 acres for a total of 28.4. It's undeveloped land, it's forested. There's only one area. There seems to be along the access road that goes into the gun club, looks like there was some mining that was done, but other than that, the project is completely undeveloped and not been disturbed. So along the easterly side of the property is where the gravel access road goes into the Walpole Sportsman's Association Club in the back, which is to the north of the site. To the south, which is Lincoln Road, it abuts it, and then also to the south is Deerfield Drive, comes in around the middle of the site. And then to the west, we have the town of Norfolk, and we have a wetland resource area, which is also associated with Stock River. So there's a riverfront area, buffer zones with the vegetated wetlands associated with that end of the project site. So the proposal is to develop the land, as stated, for 24 single-family residential houses. The roadway network, as we're proposing, is to come in off Lincoln Road, come in what we're calling Julie Drive, and that road is approximately 1,180 feet in length to the end of the cul-de-sac. There's a T intersection that goes off to what we're calling Parsons Lane, and that's approximately 980 feet in length. And then that tees off and goes down and connects into Deerfield Drive. The extension of Deerfield Drive is about 390 feet from the cul-de-sac to the intersection of the new proposed roadway. So the roadway's looped. There's no dead ends that exceed the 750-foot limit, as stated in the subdivision regs. The grades on the site, as many of you are probably aware, the site rises up approximately 60 feet in elevation from the end of Deerfield Drive. In a short distance, it also rises up about the same, going back down on the northerly side down to the Walpole Gun Club, as well as going down to the access road. So the site is high in the middle and low around the perimeter. It's a knoll of gravel. There's been a series of test pits that have been done throughout the site. We've had borings done, we've had excavators out there, we've done testing with the town engineer to witness some of it. We've done some on our own. We know what the material consists of. It's a coarse sands, gravels throughout the site. We've done borings that go down as approximately as deep as 50 feet in the middle of the site. So the roadway as it comes in from Deerfield, I'm gonna start there. So we've brought the roadway in, we've maximized the slope that's allowed under the subdivision regs to create that road. We hit the intersection of Parsons Way, and then we go right and left, and we come around, and we're going up at about 2% to get Drive. And then we come out at a pretty gradual slope. It goes up and down, and then out to Lincoln Road. So we show all the homes in a general manner throughout the site. The site will be lowered in the central area, approximately 40 feet, 30 to 40 feet in elevation. It drops down to get to the grades for the proposed roadways and to create the lots in a flat manner so we can develop the lots with houses, septic systems, and anything else that goes along with a single family home. The project will be serviced by town water. We will be looping the water from Lincoln Road. We will create a new tap on Lincoln Road. We'll tie into the existing pipe. We are uncertain as to what that pipe is at this time. There's some conflicting records in the town. There is an 8-inch water line on Deerfield with an existing stub with a gate off the end of the cul-de-sac. We'll be connecting into that, and we'll be dead ending only within the 2 cul-de-sacs that we're proposing. The project houses will be served by on-site sewage disposal systems. I don't know if there's gas in the area. We haven't put any research into that. So the utilities will be underground as far as electric, cable, TV, etc. So that will all be underground coming in from Lincoln Road, looping around to Deerfield Drive. We understand we've met all the requirements of the subdivision rules. We're not requesting any waivers. The roadways are being built at a 26-foot wide paved surface. There's one sidewalk throughout the project. It connects to the cul-de-sac in Deerfield and then terminates at Lincoln Road. There's granite curb throughout, slope granite on the straights, vertical granite on the roundings. We have prepared for the board, we have prepared a project phasing plan due to the amount of gravel that's being removed from the site to create the roadways and the lots. I pull that up on my screen just quickly. We broke it down into 3 phases. I think it's easier to show you a plan of that. So basically, we're calling it phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. And in the phasing and also in the construction phasing and the gravel removal operation, we clearly state that no access will be allowed through Deerfield Drive for construction vehicles of any sort, and that includes doing the outwork on the houses as well as doing the work on the roads. So when they actually build the house and the subcontractors coming in, plumbers, electricians, sheetrock, drywall, insulators, they'll all be using the access off Lincoln Road. So the idea is to come in, carve out the access road all the way into phase 1, not completely clear the entire site, clear phase 1, brings phase 1 to grade, build the roadway in from Deerfield, binder course, build a portion of Parsons Lane, put the drainage system in, the water system in, and then get to the point where you can actually bond the road and start construction on the homes in that area. And as the homes are being constructed in phase 1, they'll move into phase 2, clear the area, start grading the roads and the lots and get those prepped as well, get that prepared and ready to go. The only time that Deerfield Drive would be accessible is when someone occupies a new home. So the new owners of any of the houses would be allowed to access through Deerfield. We spell that out in several places throughout the phasing and the gravel removal operation. And then phase 3 would be obviously the last phase as we work our way back out towards Lincoln Road. So just going to touch quickly back to the grading plan. So the idea of the site was, there is a hill that we have to contend with. It goes up 60 feet in elevation from Deerfield Drive to the top of the hill. We're rising up, approximately, we got a 7% slope over a 300-foot road, so that's only about 21 feet that we were able to gain going up. The idea, once we get in there and we started grading the lots, the thought process was, is we do have an abutter here, that's the Walpole Association Gun Club. They do fire guns. There is shooting that takes place on the abutting property. So we would like to build houses that we can screen from the gun club, as well as screen the gun club from the houses. So as you can see in the grading plan, there's a earthen berm all along the property boundary between the association, the club, and the new homes. That berm off the end of the cul-de-sac for what we're calling Julie Lane is approximately 18 feet in height. So the idea was to get the elevation of the homes down low enough to be able to extend the berm high enough that the berm would actually be pretty close to the elevation of the gutter line of the proposed houses. Now, we will plant vegetation on the top of the berm as well. Once we haven't given you a vegetation plan at this point in time, however, we can provide one. And the idea is that the gutter lines and the windows on the second floor, as they look out of their house, will not be able to see the gun range or have, anyone see them from the gun range. So that was some of the planning that was put into it as we went forward with the grading and creating this earthen berm along the backside of the property boundary. So that extends from the cul-de-sac at the end of Julie Lane all the way down to the end, which is lot 12 on the Parsons Way. There is a drainage basin at the end of Parsons Way. So as far as the drainage goes on the site, the proposed drainage, we have on-site recharge. We're using two different types. One is an open basin, which we have 3 open basins. We have a small one out at Lincoln Road. It's shown on lot 23. We have another one on lot 4 and 5 on the back here. We have a larger one down the back on lot 13. And then as you go out towards Deerfield, we're proposing some underground Caltech recharge systems, which would be in easements on lot 16. So we mitigate all the increase in runoff via recharge into the ground. We have the soils to do that. As I stated earlier, it's all coarse sands and clean gravels, so it's very conducive to providing groundwater recharge throughout. All the houses also will have groundwater recharge systems, so the roof runoff will be captured and put into underground infiltration systems. And also every house will also have a in-ground on-site sewage disposal system. So I think that's pretty much an overview. I do want to point out that we did reach out to the neighborhood, the people on Deerfield and along Lincoln Road, and we did have an in-person meeting. The gun club was kind enough to let us use their property to do that. We did it outdoors, maintaining social distancing at all times. And there were some good things that came out of that, and some people were okay with it and some people not so okay. We did speak to most of the neighbors. We had made some commitments to what we would do and what we would try and work out with them, which I can either get into now, we can get into later as we get into the questions and discussions of the things that we talked about. So I think with that, I'll open it up to the board and if anyone has any questions.
Thanks for opening it up. For me, Rob? All right, we have first off, Board of Health. Their meeting of April 6th voted unanimously. The board would like to reiterate the comments of January 19th, where the board stated they have a long stance on protecting wetlands and water resources. The board wished to hold their motion until they receive documentation from the applicant regarding the relocation of the proposed houses away from the riverfronts, as well as mitigation tactics for the proposed building in the riverfront wetland. In addition, the board wanted the applicant to be aware that since the property holds 24 single houses, each one will have an on-site septic system with soils testing to be conducted. So with that being said, right now you don't have anything from the Board of Health. You agree, Rob?
Correct.
Yeah, you need a yes or a no. All right. From the Board of Water and Sewer, Sewer Commissioners discussed this at their last meeting on April 12th and had no additional comments. From the Conservation, dated 4/20, Lincoln Estates is currently under conservation review for the land disturbance permit application request for determination. So you are in with anybody out there. This is at conservation too. All right. Next one. Fire Chief Timothy Bailey, regarding the names of the streets. Parson Drive is approved. Julia Drive is denied. Could be confused with Jory Lane. So you gotta get another one. From Deputy Chief Paul Barry on May 5th, and he reviewed the plans and noted that the street names applied for per the bylaw should be applied. He noted Julie Drive is denied. The fire department requests that the applicant confirm the turn-in radius throughout, especially entering and exiting the site utilizing the fire department's turn-in radius documentation. Consideration should be taken when choosing and locating street trees to limit overgrowth into the street. And the fire department will work with the applicant to determine the final hydrant locations. From local police department and fire department, E911 attaches the 2 proposed names to the subdivision. Please let us know if you approve. This is you to them. That goes back a while, so we know what happened. You got one, you didn't get the other. Okay. The next one is from the police department, Officer Luke Pollan, and the attached plans have been reviewed for any impact on public safety and quality of life. The Walpole Police Department would ask that no houses are built within Mass General Laws, Chapter 269, Section 12E, discharge a firearm within the 500 foot of a dwelling. Also, that it is known that the gun club will be shooting within their rights will cause significant gunfire noise. I have attached a description of the law, and the law, pretty simple, says that you can't discharge firearms within 500 feet. And I know in that area and doing some measurement, I believe that some of the ranges are within that. Okay, that would be something for discussion that will have to be addressed. Okay, and the last correspondence I have is from the town engineer, Kyle Baldoff, and I'll let Kyle do his thing on these because it's dated May 6th. So go ahead, Kyle.
Mr. Chair, we just delivered the letter today, so I think that hardly anybody's barely had time to look at it. However, I will say that we have 7 pages and about 85 points in there, so I'm certainly not going to go over it line by line. But I will say that we covered the plan, the drainage report, the impact, the traffic impact assessment, and the submission in general. We had comments on all things. Mr. Truax did a nice presentation describing the site, the design, the road network, and just about all the lots and whatnot. They conform. They've done a good job of providing a design to the planning boards and the town standards. Like any site, there are nuances, matched edge issues. We've suggested that the cul-de-sac at Deerfield Drive be eliminated and closed up, as that will be now a through road. And there are also a little bit of an oddity with Lincoln Road at the entrance as the actual roadway sits outside the layout. Those issues were discussed, and the applicant has agreed that he'll provide whatever rights he has, and we'll formally lay out the piece of Lincoln Road that's outside the layout so that the 2 roads meet. And on an overview, the drainage, we did observe soils. It's got great soils. We've been in just about every place that the infiltration is going to be provided, and to the depths as best we could, that the systems will function, and we found very good soils. That makes it a lot easier. As Mr. Truax described, it's a phased operation. I think we'll have a few more comments on exactly. I like the phasing plan, but as always, the devil's in the details. And as this is before the Conservation Commission, I think the precipitation depths that are used in this report will have to be increased to meet the conservation's requirements. We'll probably end up modifying the way these basins look and the drainage looks a little bit in the end run. But that's a pretty good overview of the subdivision. So if there are any questions, I'd be glad to answer, but we pretty well covered the application.
Okay. All right, I'll open up to the board. I'll go, John?
Let's see. After looking through the plans, I see some of the items we talked about in the preliminary plans have been addressed. On page 1 of your plan, on your sheet index, you still have some discrepancies on pages 1, 2, sheets 1, 2, and 3 on the names. You have 2 as your key sheet, and that's the existing condition sheet, and 3 says layout plan, and that's your key sheet. I don't know if the cover sheet needs to be labeled locus plan also. On the plan and profile pages, I don't know if it'd be possible to add a directional symbol on it so we can identify which way you're looking at the upper sections of it. When I was trying to follow it through, it would go from like north being north to east being north to south being north. If you can throw a directional arrow on those, it might make it simpler. As I mentioned in the preliminary plan, match lines perhaps could be added because your layout's over 3 pages, but it's pretty straightforward anyways. Something I see you added the lot numbers on the grading and drainage sheets, but there were a few more missing on page 9 of 20, minor issue. On your phase development, I wasn't sure I understood you. Will all the gravel removal be done first before phase 1 starts, or will you only be removing gravel necessary for the phase 1 section? And then,
Right. So, yes, John. So we would remove the gravel for phase 1, and then we would start constructing, get the roads to binder course, because we have access off Deerfield. We would have to bond the roads, and we would start building homes in that area. At the same time, we start removing the gravel in phase 2.
okay. I noticed none of the phases include lot 24. Was that an omission?
It's because it fronts on Lincoln Road.
When will that be developed then, in phase 3?
I don't know. I'm really not sure. It's by itself on Lincoln Road. It doesn't have frontage on the new roads at all. I mean, we could have actually done an A&R plan and taken it out of the subdivision, but we just left it in.
Let's see.
I didn't include it in the phases because it doesn't need frontage.
Okay. So this is one of that. That's that. Identify those. The trees will be done later. I don't believe I have any other questions at this time.
Okay, all set, okay, Phil?
Yeah, first question is, in the letter, when you fill out the form, you mentioned the traffic study. And I don't know if I saw it. Excuse me if I missed it. I know there was a picture of the entrance, but did you really do a traffic study? You're not looking for a waiver for that?
No, there is a traffic study that was submitted.
Okay.
Green International prepared a traffic study. We don't have them on the call tonight, but if there's questions about the traffic study, we can bring them to the next meeting.
Okay.
There is a traffic study, Phil. I'm sorry, I don't know why you don't have it. I can send you directly a copy.
Yeah, it's not part of the packet.
Yeah, it was part of the packet.
Yeah, I would like to look at that. I want to go to the issue on the gun club, the 500 feet. That sounds like a big issue. So I have a lot of questions about that, how that's going to be resolved if there are some houses that are within the 500 feet. And of course, we're not really sure where the gun club shooting range are, so it's hard for us to know from the.
You can actually see the shooting ranges on this plan. This is the traps shooting right here. That's where the closest shooting takes place. And this is and actually, I'm sorry, that's not the closest. There's a rifle range behind the old clubhouse, which is right here. They stand right here and they shoot in the opposite direction away from the property. Same with the trap, they shoot away from the property. I'm gonna let Attorney Almeida speak on that 500-foot rule. We have a difference of opinion on that, so, and what was written by the police chief, so I'll let him talk about that if you want to get his opinion on it.
Absolutely. So the statute has an exception, subsection D, which allows for shooting within the 500-foot radius if it's a shooting range and the person shooting has the permission of the owner of the property on which the range is located. So because the gun club is the owner of the property upon which the shooting is occurring, it's an exception to the 500-foot rule. And we submitted a memorandum in response to the police department's memo, and I'm happy to submit that to the board as well. And I can also include the language of the statute that I'm referring to. It's 259, Massachusetts General Law 259, 12E, and subsection D is the exception to which I'm referring.
So as long as the gun club gives their permission, you're saying it's not a problem?
Correct. As long as the gun club gives permission to its members to fire on the range, it doesn't matter if the range is within 500 feet.
And certainly, prospective homeowners would probably want to know, I'm sure that would be something that needs to be revealed to them if they're, because,
Yes, absolutely. And I didn't mean to interrupt you, but we've already been working with the gun club on language to have in draft deeds go to the homeowners who are purchasing the properties that would be within the 500-foot radius, to make this quite clear to them that it is an exception and that they buying the lot knowing that that is the case.
And then I had some questions on the drainage. I had specific questions, but let me just do my general one. So is there any places then where with the land shaping that water will be draining into abutters? Or is all the water, all the drainage going to be contained within the property? I know you're putting in the catch basins.
Sure.
Just looking at some of the slopes downward.
Yeah. So I'll go over it with you real quick. So obviously along the gun club, we have that berm, so no water can escape from the site towards the gun club. And then as you come down towards Deerfield, the last house on the right coming in on Deerfield, we're actually going to leave a berm there as well along these houses that we show, lot 17. I think that's 20, 21, and 22. So that becomes a berm. Those houses are dropped down, so no water can escape towards the homes on Deerfield. So all the water on lots 20, 19, 17 will shed towards our proposed road and get picked up in the catch basin area. The same as you come out towards Lincoln Road, everything pitches towards the street. There is a berm along the access road right here for the gun club. And there's a swale that actually runs along that berm and takes it to the drainage basin behind the homes on lots 1, 2, and 3. And then there is a basin on lot 23 that captures any runoff heading down towards the homes on Lincoln Road, which would be the houses that are right adjacent to the project site. So no water escapes the site drainage system from the disturbed areas.
And it's not a problem in the flat area in the middle that maybe some of the water may cause problems?
Well, they're not. We're not going to leave any low spots on the site. Everything has a slight pitch to it, whether it's 1 or 2%. There will be pitch from the yards out to the street. So no, we won't leave any low spots on the site that would collect water. I will tell you that the soils infiltrate quite rapidly. So even if there was something that sat there for a moment, I don't think it would stay there very long just because it will infiltrate back into the ground so quickly.
Okay. And you mentioned the catch basin. So will some water go in a catch basin and the street? Then is that obvious?
In our street, no catch basins in Lincoln Road. There aren't any catch basins on Lincoln Road. We have catch basins before you get to Deerfield, picking it up, putting it in a recharge system. So we're capturing everything before it leaves the site with our catch basins proposed.
And then I have a question on the health department, the letter from the health department.
Sure.
It sounded like they were looking for a revised plan where the houses were. Maybe I caught that wrong.
Oh, I don't know.
And Jeff, maybe
So,
I caught that wrong.
To address the Board of Health, at this point in time, we can't do soil testing for on-site sewage disposal systems because I can't do a perk test that would be down 30 feet in depth. So we're gonna lower the site and then we'll do the perk test for the houses. I will state, they made a comment about the resource area. We are not proposing any work within the 100-foot wetland buffer, and we're proposing very little work, and it's only on one of the back of the lots. It's probably less than 3,000 square feet within the 200-foot riparian. So we're filing with the conservation for a land disturbance permit. Under this subdivision, we're not going to work within the 200-foot zone nor the 100-foot zone. Maybe when they develop one of the lots, they may have to file, but at this point in time, we're not working in any of the buffers of the resource areas. We're going to maintain that corridor.
And then I had questions about the land shaping or the removing of the gravel.
Yep.
So it looks like, I just did a couple calculations, and it looked like that might be 28,000 truckloads of gravel. I use 20 cubic yards per truck. Now maybe I'm off double.
I think was that written somewhere?
No, it just mentioned 40 loads. It's not
Per day.
5,000 cubic yards, 40 loads per day.
I think a truck, I think a truck might carry 25 yards, a trailer.
Yeah, so it would be, I use 20 to 25.
You're looking at about 23,000 trips. Trucks.
Okay, yeah, okay, I had 28.
No, you're correct. There's a lot of trucks.
So the question there is a lot of, so first, that seems like an awful lot of material. And also, I think you said during the construction phase, all the trucks would be going down to Lincoln Road from.
And they're gonna go Lincoln towards Walpole. Everything's going out towards Walpole. There is a traffic plan in here, proposed travel routes, Lincoln Road, Plain Street, West Street, Main Street. So all that's in here where the trucks are headed, so nothing's going out towards Norfolk and down by the houses in that area. So everything's heading out towards the Home for Little Wanderers in that direction. So the amount of gravel that we estimated for the site, which is in the operation plan, was 575,000 yards. Just to give you an example of what that's comparison to, you weren't on the board back then, Philip, but we did a project back in the mid-90s, early 90s, which was Wisteria Ways, and it was about the same size of amount of gravel that was removed, and the Walsh brothers were the applicant and the owners of that project as well. And I can tell you definitively that they removed 500 and something thousand yards of gravel from downtown off East Street, and there was not one complaint during the whole operation. Jack Conroy was on the board. I think he actually voted on that project at the time. He's been around as long as I have. So that's just to give you a comparison if anybody remembers that project and been around when that was done. So that's it's a very similar operation.
Rob, I know exactly how many yards. It was 400,000. And I want to also mention, since you brought it up, is that was done it was a trade-off for developing closer to the river. So why wreck all the trees and everything in the river when you had a hill it was just a field? So that's how that came about. That didn't have anything to do with building the house. That had more as a trade-off. You guys could have built close to the river, but everybody thought, why are we going to ruin the look of it when you got a big vacant hill? So that's how that happened, and I can pull a decision. It was 400,000 yards. Do we want to bet?
No, I believe you. I don't remember exactly. I thought it was around 500.
Okay, I just wanted to clear that up, but also was because
Jack, I wouldn't challenge you. I'm sure you looked it up and did your homework.
I don't have to look. I remember exactly on that one, but it was also a trade-off. That should be brought out. Okay. I'm sorry, Phil.
No, that's right. And I know you're doing this under 5D in our rules and regulations, or on the bylaw, zoning bylaw, that is incidental to other primary uses. So I'm just wondering whether that's stretching that a little bit. There seems like so much material. That's just a question.
I think I would defer to Attorney Almeida on that question.
And the question specifically is it stretching the bounds of
what incidental is? Yeah. So in other words, moving that much material, is that incidental to the other primary use of activities and
So I think I read the section a little differently. I think it's section 5(1)(c), and it says earth removal is restricted in a subdivision to that which is necessary for site preparation and construction. So I think that I agree with you that if it were limited to what you said, then certainly they might be stretching it, but I think it certainly fits within 5(1)(c).
Okay, I will make a note right now. We are not under the zoning bylaw. We are under subdivision control. So those rules, anything in that is not pertinent to this. Anything under section 5 in the zoning bylaw. So anything under our subdivision control.
I think I'm looking at section 5(1) of subdivision control of the planning board rules, right? Governing the subdivision plan.
Yeah, but what I see in your gravel removal operation authority, it says section 5D1 of the local zoning bylaws, and number 3 says section 5D3 of the bylaws. It's not the zoning bylaws. It has to be on our subdivision control.
I can't speak to what's in the gravel control plan, but I'm referencing 5(1)(c), which is in the subdivision.
I understand, but if you look at what was presented to us under the gravel removal operation, under authority, it references 2, 3, and 4, and all reference back to our bylaw, which is not pertinent under subdivision.
I appreciate you pointing that out, Mr. Chairman. We can submit the corrected version that has 5(1)(c) of the planning subdivision bylaw rather than the zoning bylaw. I agree with you.
I'm just looking at that. I'll come back to that.
That's the first one on the gravel removal, Mr. Chairman. It's spelled out a section of the rules and subdivision rules and regulations. Number 1 under authority on the gravel removal. There's just other references that go with it.
Yeah, but I'm just pointing out to everybody concerned, there should be no references to our zoning bylaws. They're not pertinent.
No, thank you, Jack. That's, then I would like to have the chance to read through Caro's comments in more in depth. You know, we haven't had a chance to see them, so that we definitely want to go through those and take a longer look. So you're not looking for any waivers in the end, then? That's what you said, yeah. And then the other question I had was on the basin 2 between lots 4 and 5. So there's no issue that having such a large basin that's not. Do you need to fence that in for safety, or that's pretty common just to have a basin like that? Just looking at how close to the houses it is.
Yeah, it's a recharge basin. We don't fence them in. It's been a practice to allow wildlife, whatever, to go down in there. They're not detention basins, they're recharge basins, so they are going to put the water back in the grounds. They do drain in less than 72 hours, is the way it's calculated. So they're big enough to allow that to drain. They're not very deep. That one's not very deep, actually, in overall depth. But they do, like I said, they are designed to drain within 72 hours.
And then go back to the gravel for a minute. Did you have any comments from neighbors on the gravel and the numbers of trucks or anything?
So, yeah, they have concerns that there's going to be a lot of traffic, but just to touch on some of the other concerns. So we did have a good meeting, I thought. I'm going to touch, Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, I'll go through some of the concerns were during that meeting. And they're probably going to be reiterated when the abutters get a chance to speak, and they'll probably have other comments as well, I'm sure. So the comment came up about Deerfield Drive, and we talked about removing the cul-de-sac and just asked for their opinion. The person who lives on that cul-de-sac, who's mostly I can't see her name, but she lives, the cul-de-sac's primarily in front of her house. She wasn't at the meeting, so we weren't able to get her opinion. But as far as the road goes, there were some concerns about the sidewalk on Deerfield Drive. The abutters felt that the sidewalk was in disrepair and had asked if we're gonna come down, remove the cul-de-sac or not remove the cul-de-sac, but we were gonna bring a sidewalk down into that area. So we would continue and resurface their sidewalk all the way out to Lincoln Road. So we were pretty amenable to that. We talked about it amongst ourselves with the applicant, and we're not really, doesn't seem to be a big concern of ours. We would be more than willing to work with them on that. The other concern that came up is on Lincoln Road. The woman who lives in Catherine McManus is the abutter that abuts lot 24, 22, and 21, and her house happens to be in the very back of the lot, right in the corner of the site, and she's probably the most impacted by the project disturbance with the trees coming down. So we are sending surveyors out to stake her lot line so she can see where it is, number one, and then we're going to stake the limit of clearing, and then we were going to work with her in some aspect to come up with some planting plan along the top of the slope on our property that would provide some screening for her. In addition to that, she's lived there her whole life. Her family's lived in this house their entire lives, so it goes a long history there. Her driveway, where it comes out to Lincoln Road, catches all the water from Lincoln Road from probably all the way up to the gun club. So at some point in time, they put a Cape Cod berm on the northerly side of Lincoln Road in that area from the front of our project site, probably all the way up to, I think it goes from the gun club entrance all the way down to her driveway. And that water channels all the way down Lincoln Road on that side of the street, and then it turns and discharges into her, right into the adjacent to her driveway on the up gradient side, which would be the east side. If you go out there, you'll see that she's put a lot of crushed stone in that area to try and maintain it from eroding. It floods over her driveway. When it does get in that area, eventually if it fills up too much, it goes over her driveway. She does not have a culvert under her driveway. The next driveway does have a culvert. There's a culvert that goes under that driveway. And I've spoken to the town engineer on this. We are agreeable to work in Lincoln Road and possibly put a catch basin before her driveway to catch that water as it comes down the street. And there is a very large wetland area across the street, which is where the water should probably go. And we've talked about it with Carl, and maybe we can come up with a drainage scheme and some treatment, and we can put a catch basin in that area, and we can pipe it across the street and discharge it away from her house and provide some relief in that area for those folks. So that was one of the other issues that came up. I think that's it. I mean, obviously people have concerns that the neighborhood's going to change. The trees are coming down. There's going to be houses next door to them. It's no longer going to be forested. They've had the luxury of living there and having the woods and all that in their backyard with the deer and all the other wildlife that runs around in that area. So, I mean, that's a concern that, everybody has when some development comes in, and, unfortunately it's private land and people have a right to develop their land, and that's the way sometimes it goes. But we are considerate. We are going to work and try and come up with some buffering for those folks down in that area. We're going to stake the lot lines out and meet with them and get a landscaper to work with them and see what we can come up with to help, provide them some screening and buffering as well. I think that was pretty much the gist of those comments that came out. They may have others as of today. They did get a chance to look at the plans. I did email everyone a copy of the plans and emailed them the phasing plans and the gravel operations. So they're all on the line tonight, I'm sure, and they may have even additional concerns and questions as well. But those were some of the ones that came out during our meeting. So I just wanted to point those out. And one other thing I forgot to mention in my presentation was, there's a comment about the water system and the evaluation of the water systems. So we are working with the water department. We've contacted them. They've got the town's consultant evaluating the area, and we got an estimate to pay the bill. They're working for the town. However, the applicant is going to pay the fee to have that work done, and they're going to do an evaluation of the water system through this new subdivision. You may or may not know they just put a new water line in Plain Street connecting over, so they will incorporate that into their into their flow calcs and their pressure calcs when they look at the subdivision. So that's in the process of being done right now. We gave clearance, we gave the okay for that with the estimate we got a few weeks back. So that's being worked on as we speak. That's it, sorry.
All right, thank you. Yeah, so I think you know, do have concerns over the amount of gravel material being taken out and what that might mean for the number of trucks, traffic, and you know, so and we'd like to see, you know, Carl's report and have more time to review that. I think that's all I have for now.
All set? Oh, Phil, I just wanted to tell you, you had something, you had a question regarding with the Board of Health, if you can remember. I
Yes.
think you're referring to the Board of Health wish to hold their motion until they receive documentation from the applicant regarding the relocation of the proposed houses away from the riverfront wetland, as well as mitigation tactics for the proposed building in the riverfront wetland buffer zone. I think that might have been what you were referring to.
That is exactly what I'm referring to. So it makes it sound like they're waiting to hear back from the developer some changes in the location of the houses, or has that already been done?
Well, I think that's probably gonna end up in conservation, where that will all happen.
There's no houses in the buffer or in the riverfront area. They're not reading, it's just not, there's none proposed.
Well, we will wait till conservation and make the Board of Health happy, won't we? As happy as we can make anybody. With that being said, next one, Katie.
Rob, I'm not sure if this is for you or for the attorney. I had some questions about the gravel removal operation plan, the authority listed on it. I just needed clarification. So on number 1, I read what you had, I looked it up. And from what you cited, the first thing that I referenced, it said work on the ground for multifamily, business, and industrial subdivisions. But this doesn't fall into any of those 3, so I wasn't sure why that was cited.
So, if I could just comment on that, I think that there was a second gravel removal plan submitted when this plan was resubmitted. So I'm not sure if this is the one, but I'm happy to give you the reference. And I'm happy to give you the reference that I've been referring to tonight, which is 513 of rules and regulations regarding subdivisions. 51C, excuse me. That's what we're relying on principally. And that says that earth removal is restricted in a subdivision to that which is necessary for site preparation and construction.
And it doesn't have anything to do, it's not the same one that you cited that says multifamily business or industrial subdivisions.
Correct.
Okay. And then, so although the next 2 don't apply because they're zoning, I also looked at that and said, how is this in any way incidental with that much removal going on? Tell me, are you looking to, and I think this is for Rob, are you looking to not just bring down the level for the roads, but you want to bring down the level for all the houses?
Sorry, I'm muted. Yes, we need to prep the lots because we're going to do on-site sewage disposal systems as well. And so we also, we want to prepare yard areas for each house, and we want to, grade the site in a fashion that we can screen out the Walpole Gun Club. That's a big concern of ours.
So I was under the impression that subdivision control allows you to construct the roads, but not the lots. So that's our concentration is the roads, but I did not think we could let you just go in and shave down all the lots. And that's why I thought Symphony Park looks like Symphony Park looks.
Symphony Park? Symphony Park did not have a gravel removal, the roads.
No, but what I'm saying is it's not all level. Some of the lots are quite sloped.
You couldn't have leveled that if you wanted to. I did the design on that, and the soils were such that they were till, and they were high groundwater elevations. We had septic systems that were built out of the ground, so you couldn't cut that down if you wanted to.
But do you have the right to cut these lots all down?
Well, we're working within the subdivision regulations, where we meet the requirements of the subdivision rules and regulations. We're not asking for any waivers.
And is it fully necessary? Like, I understand in the back where you have the gun club and you're trying to build the berm. I get that. You're trying to bring the level down. And I don't know that the whole back needs to be brought down, but at least the ones near the gun club. But is it really necessary to bring all of them down?
Well, that road gets established when we come in off Deerfield. We hit that intersection, we maximize that grade, and then that road is, I think it's at 2% going up to Julie. And then we're just coming back out to Lincoln Road at that point with the slopes. We actually go uphill and then back downhill to Lincoln Road. So we're kind of following some type of contour. I mean, I'm not going up at 7, 8% or 10%. I'm going up at a gradual slope. I mean, there's no reason to push the road up at a higher percent just to maybe raise it 3 or 4 feet and then make the lots so all the lots are sloped, and I got to build septic systems on the side of a hill. So it just makes sense to try and, grade the lots so that at the end of the day, the lots are usable, and we can put the underground utilities in there. Like the sewage system is going to take up some space, so we're going to need to have an area for that on every lot. So I do think it's all relative for site preparation with the subdivision.
I'm just concerned about the amount and the number of trucks and what the neighbors are going to have to put up with. I think it's a lot. So you had to go with septic because I assume sewer is nowhere around. Where's the closest sewer?
I don't know. I think it's way out near West Street. There's none on Lincoln Road that I know of. I just did a septic repair up on Lincoln Road near the beginning. Yeah, it's a long ways away.
Okay.
There is a treatment plant across the river.
Yeah. How far, so actually, can you say how far the proposed houses are from where that shooting, if you can put, I don't know if you can put that back up. You had the picture where you showed where they shoot the rifles.
Yeah.
I would say that's probably the closest. Am I correct in saying that's probably the closest to the houses?
So I did a radius, so lots, I read the numbers, 7, which is on the cul-de-sac, 8, 9, and 10, and possibly a portion of 11 are within 500 feet of this rifle range.
So how, when you say, and I'm not holding you to the exact number, but about how far is the closest one?
These two are the closest on the cul-de-sac to the trap range right here. I want to say they're about 350 to 400 feet. I'd have to get you an exact number. I can get you that.
Yep. So I'm not.
But they are completely encompassed by the 500-foot radius.
And I will be honest and say I'm not so much worried. I mean, I know you guys are trying to do the right thing, and I know the gun club is trying to, you guys are trying to come to an agreement. I worry more down the line. So the club has been there for a very long time.
Right.
And I just worry you get some person who purchases and then goes in and squawks. It's a huge danger, whether it be 5 years down the line or, they're in danger or something, and it impacts the club negatively. I think that's a concern that has to be, that's why I think it's really important you guys really vet that all out.
So they are, John is working with the club. They are showing draft deeds to the club, what the language will be. So these people will be well aware, and they won't have the rights to shut the club down. So there will be language that protects the club in the deeds.
In the deed. Okay.
Correct. In the deeds.
Okay.
I don't know, maybe we can ask the alternative meter if there's a chance maybe we could provide you a sample language of what that is at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah, we absolutely could. The language has been drafted. The idea just being that putting the language in the deed makes it unbelievably clear to the purchaser that it's subject to this law and that you're purchasing it with knowledge of the fact that it's within the radius of the gun club. And there's a very good argument that the person who's purchasing it knows that they're coming to the nuisance, and therefore they can't sue the club or do anything to its operation because they assume that risk when they purchase it.
Okay. So another concern I had is not so much coming from Walpole, but coming from Norfolk, the way you have, I know you can't use the name, it was Julie, right?
Correct.
when you're coming in that direction, there's a curve. There's quite a clip in the road there. It doesn't look it, and I'm thinking of it, not to jump around, but the sightline triangles, it wasn't readable in any way. It was completely black. So if we could get a
Agreed.
We'll get you a new one.
yeah, because I stared at that and tried to make it out and couldn't. But
You know, I can try and incorporate them on my plan. I can get them from the traffic engineering, put them on a plan you can read.
but if you've driven that, and especially that road's so narrow, and if you're coming in that direction, I just worry about the line of sight with people pulling out of that road. I worry about how it's situated. I don't have a suggestion on how to situate better, but I think even though you've looked at it, I'd look at it again. I just think coming around that curve.
You're coming from Walpole towards the site?
No, if you're coming from Norfolk.
Coming from Norfolk towards the site, you can see about 600 feet before you get to the road.
So
You sure you're not thinking the other way?
the other way, it curves, that area curves pretty good.
If you're coming up from Norfolk, I can see this road from 500-600 feet down the street. This is coming out of here. That is relatively straight right there.
I think they're going
There's
to
a
be
bend when you go up around the gun club, but when we clear this, because it's on our property, we're going to create more sight distance coming up and around that area. So yeah, we are going to help that out. As you know, the road's on our property.
Yep.
I don't know. I didn't explain that, but I don't know if you could see that in the plans. I can blow it up. So the roadway, you can see the Lincoln Road layout. This is the layout traveling right here. And then the road completely goes out of the layout and into the property. You know,
And so putting the road there, do you have any issues with the scenic road? Are there any walls or anything?
this wall right here, but it's on our property. It's not out in the layout.
But you don't have to disturb it.
This one we do. We'll disturb it right here, sure, on the site. But it's not out in the road. It's not on your road.
Not
It's
out
not
of
in the town layout.
Okay.
Yeah. So we did look at this, and you really couldn't move it back into the layout without really doing damage to the homes across the street. I mean, you'd have to move the road some 25, 30 feet over, and it would just completely wipe out the Lampertis who live across the street, their front yard. So, and we did I just saw another note. That road is situated, the center line is in between the two houses across the street. We did that. That was a design. So we put it right between their houses.
So it's not, so that big driveway that's there, it's not going to interfere with that at all.
Correct. So we wanted to make sure that cars weren't coming out in front of their house. We had the ability to do that, so we put the intersection in between the two homes.
And you mentioned the water issue with that McManus property up front.
Yes.
That truly just a drainage issue? Is there any, is it wet there, or is it just a drainage issue?
So we did it, this pocket right here, we did an ANRAD on the site. Landis Hershey's been out there with Joyce Hastings of our office. We did this last year. And it's land isolated. It's not even isolated land subject to flooding because it's not deep enough. It's not a vegetated wetland. It doesn't have the soils, doesn't have vegetation to hold to be a wetland. Landis, the conservation's been out there. She's looked at it. But I will tell you that, it gets runoff from the road because it comes right down and discharges right at the corner of her driveway. If you drive out there, you'll see all the crushed stone that she has put in to maintain it from eroding. And then it floods up, goes over her driveway, and then goes through the pipe on the neighbor's driveway. And then there's actually like a ditch that comes down and goes under all the driveways on that side with pipes. She's the only one who doesn't have a pipe. And she catches all the water first from Lincoln Road. She said years ago that berm wasn't there and that she didn't get as much water because it would go off the edge of the road and infiltrate into the ground, probably some of it. And now they put the berm in and it's sending it all right to that point.
Okay. So you have no worry about wetness. You have no worry about that house in the front that you plan to build.
Correct. That's not a wetland. We've already been down that road.
I think the lots, I will say, I like the size of the lots. It's nice to see. that they are all nice sized lots. They're not on top of each other. That was definitely a plus. I think that's all I have at this point.
Okay, sorry, Sarah?
Okay. While we're on this plan, what's the significance of that like darker green around the edges? What does that mean?
That will remain as treed,
Ah, okay.
the limit of work.
Okay, limited work, okay. Okay, I know we've talked about it, but I have on my list, an update on the gun club access easement and the 500 limit, so just put that again as something that, I'm interested in.
So let's want to just touch on that access for one quick second. I'm gonna go back to the old subdivision plan.
Sure,
So when we did the subdivision, as you can see, we have this parcel A.
yeah,
So we are working, we don't have an agreement at this point in time, but John's been working with the club. And if things go the way we expect them to go, then this parcel A would get deeded to the club. So they would have legal rights, they'd have ownership, and they would have frontage on Lincoln Road, which they don't currently have.
okay, right, because the chairman had also mentioned that they need frontage. And
Correct.
what's
That would help them.
What's that?
That would help them to have frontage.
Yeah. What's the width of that parcel A? Or
It
what-
varies all the way down because it's just you can see how the line is. It's not a parallel line at all. We tried to follow, on our side, we just tried to make sure we kept a gravel road inside it.
Okay,
It does meander off on the other side a little bit, some spots. I won't lie to you, but it doesn't on our side. We just made sure we encompassed their road. And then where it goes off on the other side, that's on the Little Wanderer's side, so.
yeah. Is it, in your experience, sufficient for Walpole Fire Department? Because
They
often
looked
they
at-
have something.
I'm assuming they get up there now.
Okay,
Yeah, I don't think the gun club has any intentions to rebuild that road and make it wider or anything. It's gonna stay a gravel road, and they're gonna continue to use it just as it is. I don't think they have any intentions to do any widening or anything for any purposes that I know of.
okay. Could you go to the phasing sheet? Do you have the information, like the approximate acres of each phase? Or could you get that to us?
I didn't do that, no. I just listed the lots that were encompassing each phase. I can get you that.
Okay.
The acreage of clearing, something to that effect?
Yeah,
Sure.
and you mentioned that you've been doing quite a bit of testing. Do you have, the existing water level?
I have some test pits with water. We dug down at the bottom and we hit water in some of the lower spots.
Okay,
I can tell you, for instance, I dug in this drainage basin because this is a low spot.
uh-huh,
And I can't recall exactly, but I did have water in that hole down deep, well below the bottom of the basin, but I did have water. I dug down behind lot 16 where this shows this drainage easement, which we don't know what that is. There's no drainage there. But I dug down in this low area, down in here, and
uh-huh,
at the bottom of that hole, I had some water. The stuff we dug up in here, we got down to, 40 feet, and we didn't hit any water table. I dug in this basin, I didn't hit any water table there. So, out front, I had a water table near Lincoln Road. I dug out in this area, we had a water table. That was probably the highest water table we saw. It was probably, I think it was like 6 feet or 5 feet. So that basin's very shallow, it's very small. I was trying to maintain the 4 feet above groundwater with all the basins, which I was able to do. That's probably the only one that I even had to have a concern about.
okay. You say 4 feet, what about 10 feet?
4 feet, well, 2 feet's the standard.
Okay,
And when you go to 4 feet, you just don't have to do groundwater mounding calculations. That's the only difference.
okay. So I know that the chair had said that the bylaw doesn't apply, but I'm trying to agree with that, but I think that it does, but in the bylaw, it does say you know, that not to remove earth that would cause, the water table to be less than
Correct.
10 feet down. So I do have that outstanding concern.
So I
Um,
don't, all the lots are probably well above 10 feet above the water table.
Even after you dig
Correct.
50 feet down?
Yeah, this basin, these basins are down below the lots. So the lots are up a lot higher. This lot's probably 10 feet higher than the basin.
Okay.
So take a look at the topography. I mean, out front where we're doing this basin, where I said it was like 4 to 5 feet, we're not excavating gravel out of this area.
Okay.
This is at grade, what's there now. So, but when you
Okay.
come back here, I'm sure we're well above 10 feet. We did the borings there, and I'm well above the bottom of the boring.
Okay. So I'm glad you said take a look at the topography because I cannot read that sheet. Those
Well,
numbers.
This one. No, go to the
so-
other ones.
Can you get us like a PDF or can you do a new plan that has the actual numbers a little bit larger?
You couldn't read these ones either? There's a lot of lines on there.
Yeah, look at that. I mean, I know I'm getting old, but this is like, this is completely.
What would you like to see more? What would you like me to do with it? I don't know if I can blow it up that much.
Well, if you could, and I checked the website because some of the plans now we're putting online, but I didn't see this one. So if you can send us a PDF and then I can, you know,
Sure,
Zoom, I can
I have sent
probably
it
take
to,
a look at it.
you should have it. I've sent it to Kate, but I can resend it to anyone.
Okay,
I have this whole plan in a PDF. I can,
okay, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
if you want to private chat me and give me your email, I'll send it right now.
Okay. Okay.
All of
So,
us.
and, so I'd like to agree with the chair that this project has significant excavation. And I, like other members, have concerns on that. And I feel that this is, you know, quite a bit outside the norms of subdivisions. I know you mentioned that other project and the chair mentioned there are other, you know, extenuating circumstances for that project, but, so I do have a lot of concerns. And if the bylaw were to apply, it does say, you know, that if, you know, it's okay to remove earth if it's incidental, you know, to the construction of single-family homes or residential, right? But this is what I would not say this is incidental. This is like major operation. So you've listed 575,000 cubic yards. And if you think of an Olympic-sized swimming pool, that's 3,300 cubic yards. So you are proposing to remove 174.2 Olympic-sized swimming pools filled of gravel from this site. So that's a lot, and I have concerns about that. And what I would suggest to the board is that in this case, perhaps we ask for an outside consultant to really evaluate this operation and make sure that the town is protected. I know they've provided that the plan and a lot of what's in the plan are things that are required from Walpole if it were an actual mining operation and the applicant was required to get a special permit. So I think that the applicant has provided some things, but some things are not there. And I think that we should make sure that the town is protected and make sure that, you know, this is done right. So I don't think I've ever asked for it before on a project, but I do think that this might be a project that we would ask for a consultant and we'd ask for the applicant to pay for that to ensure that the town is protected with this significant removal of gravel. or request that they go through special permit with the ZBA. So,
Are you, can I ask a question, Sarah? Are you suggesting that the outside consultant is basically to review the gravel removal operation and how that's protecting the town? Or are you
Yeah.
asking to review everything, drainage, water?
no, I think,
I mean, town
unless I
engineer-
hear from the town engineer that, you know, that's beyond, but I think, yeah, basically the gravel removal and the plan, and make sure, like, if this were an operation, you would be required to get a special permit by the ZBA, and then certain things, you know, the town would be protected, like, one, there would be a bond, right? You would pay the town to make sure that things go right, so that's one thing, and then, you know, there's a 1-year permit. Right now, you're telling us that this operation is gonna be 3 years. It mentions about the water table. There's performance standards. There's no removal of any earth within 50 feet of abutting property. There's a limit to 5 acres at a time. There's a limit on the truck frequency to every 3 hours. So, and this kind of operation is only allowed in the industrial zone. So, and then you have to submit analysis of the groundwater. So all these things, you know, are there for a reason, to protect the town and to protect the residents and everything. So I just think if this subdivision is gonna go through, I would like to make sure that spirit of protecting the town and protecting the residents is done. And I think that's really kind of outside the expertise of our board. So most of what I reviewed was, you know, all about this gravel. I did kind of look at the subdivision, but I'd really like to hear more, and make sure that part is okay with the board and with the engineer before I do a major review of the subdivision. And those are my comments.
Thank you. It is the biggest thing to review, so that everybody looks at that first. I got some comments, Rob, as you can well imagine. Okay, on the police, what we have right now from the police is their opinion. Your team indicated they have something that allows this to happen on a Mass General law or something. I would expect that to be forwarded to us for review. And we want to make sure, because I have an issue where, and I'm not sure if we can do it, to approve something that puts someone else out of business. So, with that being said, you alluded to, you had something that indicated that there is a loophole, so to speak, or something different than what Luke Paulon, the officer, gave us. So we will need that. Also, your deed, but from my understanding, doing real estate a lot, put something in the deed like that typically isn't looked upon very highly by the courts, to have something restricted, but we're gonna need that to look at too, to make sure that thing will stand up. So those are a couple big issues on the police, because I don't believe you can put someone out of business, the gun club, especially, or anybody like that. Next one. Cable's over. On the, you indicated, Rob, that you guys are doing something for the sewer and water department. Right. Is that in lieu of connection fees?
No.
Oh, it's above and beyond?
Yeah.
Is that part of that I&I deal, or is it something else?
No, I&I sewer. This is just the water system they're evaluating.
Okay.
Just to make sure there's proper pressures, and it's in your subdivision regs that we do that.
No, I understand, but you're doing some extra stuff we don't normally see, but sometimes, I'm sure you guys have done the I&I stuff for them.
Yeah, no, I think the concern, Jack, was this is at the end of the line. We're at the outskirts of the town, so we're at the end of the water line, so, we talked to, I don't know if I talked to Rick, I talked to, who's in charge now of the water department, I can't think of his name, Bernie.
Rick.
And, yeah, I talked to Bernie Marshall, and, Bernie got an estimate from, is it Wright that does the town's water system, I think.
What,
Right, consultants.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we agreed, I asked them to do that, and we agreed we would work with them, and they're gonna do an analysis of it, because, we are at the outskirts of the town, and, he'll do all the pressure calcs, he'll check the pressures and the flows in the area. It will help Deerfield that we're gonna, get that loop down there at the end of that line, so that helps a little. They did just do, and I think it helps that they just did the new water line on Plain Street, that's gonna help also.
Okay. Phasing. How you plan on doing the roads?
So when we phase, we will, as far as for the gravel removal, what we're gonna do is in the erosion control plan, we're gonna pave the first 150 feet off Lincoln Road, and then we'll do our trap rock for another 100 feet. So the trucks, when they come out, will hit the trap rock, they'll hit 150 feet of pavement, then they'll hit Lincoln Road. So we won't pave this portion of the road as we go back into the first phase, which is in the back. So we wouldn't pave any of this road. And then we'll build this, and we'll pave it from Deerfield in and up to, whatever we gotta do to get to lot 10 and the cul-de-sac. So we'll build this section out to Deerfield, and then they can start house construction. As houses are occupied, they can come in from Deerfield to get access. This will be brought to grade, rough grade, but it won't be paved during the gravel removal when they're phasing it out.
Okay, now, the issue becomes, is if it's not paved, it's really not a road, what you need, and you don't want to exceed the 750 feet. So you'd have to start putting in temporary cul-de-sacs and so on. So my point is, and this happened way back there, Rob, down in Wisteria 2, it was told, and it was done, that the road would connect from Plimpton Street all the way up to East Street, and so you had to wait in and out, and it was binded, which is normal. So that's something I have to think about, because a road is not considered a road without binder on it. You can't just leave it until you get 3 years later. So you got to think about that.
I don't think it would be 3 years, Jack. It's 3 years total. So phase one would probably wouldn't even have a house built on it till after a year.
Well, that's something you got to consider. That will be my.
Right. The other thing is that would all get bonded. The road would be bonded all the way out to Lincoln Road.
Not necessarily bonded, and unfortunately, I didn't get a lot of cooperation up in Ross Commons, but that was supposed to have been built, all looped around, connected to binder. For some reason, I didn't get the support from people in the town to help me push, because that's what it is. It's all about. It's not about me. It's about the fire trucks and Paul Barry and Chief Tim Bailey. That's what this is about. It isn't about. So I don't think they're going to want to be able to have to go in off a road, because all of a sudden the fire department would not go up a dirt road. If at Deerfield, or that's the left side is blocked, they're not going to travel over a road like that, because they don't want to, because it's not made for that, and they'll put their equipment in more jeopardy of getting stuck or problems. So that's what you got to think about. How are you going to work out the phasing?
We can work with that. We can also talk to the fire chief about that. What he'd like to see.
All right, and moving on to the bigger one, the gravel. Once again, this is under subdivision control. The zoning book pertains to individual lots. And what it says here in section I-5-9C, it says where side slopes will extend outside the street right-of-way lines, suitable slope easements of sufficient dimensions to accommodate the slope. Okay? And when you go to another one we're referring to on section 5IC, earth removal is restricted to subdivision as necessary for the preparation of construction, unless a special permit from the Zone Board of Appeals. This is for the road itself. It is not for the lots. Subdivision control does not have any authority over lots, and that's why it's only about the road. Okay? I'm sure we're gonna have a difference of opinion, so I would expect that your team and your attorney expound to us on why they feel they can do it beyond. I know what you're saying, but doesn't mean you have to build 24. I mean, if this was Mount Washington, would we be leveling it to get 24 houses? Probably not, but our subdivision control strictly deals with the roads themselves and any side slopes from that, okay? It doesn't allow clear cutting or so on, just to make individual house lots. That's what the subdivision control says. I know you guys differ, and I'm not gonna get in an argument naturally, though, so they got some homework there. Then we're gonna need some, response back on why you feel you can do this without just level the lots to make, and as you said, Rob, to make you're trying to make the lots so you can do a septic, so they're livable. Well, as you understand, it's not in subdivision control to do that. So I just want to make that statement. So I covered the police, the gravel, my phasing, told me about the water. So with that being said, I promised anybody who wants to speak, just ask you to, I'll look through, but if you start speaking, usually it'll come up on the screen, and I just asked your name and address so we have it for the record and so I can see them on the screen. So anybody from the audience?
Hi, yes, I'm Kim Williams,
Okay,
and I'm on Deerfield Drive.
all right.
So I just have a couple of concerns. Well, more than a couple, but the main thing that I have is that I actually spoke to the police department earlier this week about a few things, and one of them was, and actually it's the police department that had the biggest concern about it, is that, you know, these people are going to be buying these homes right along they're going to be abutters to this gun club. And honestly, when we went to that meeting, it was so loud, just incredibly loud. And I know that a berm's going up, but it was incredibly loud. And so the main concern that the police department had was that they're going to get a ton of calls. And I know it's going to be written into whatever agreement they have when they buy the house, but they're going to have to respond to these calls day and night. And honestly, when we moved in here, you know, we noticed, you know, we could hear it, but we're not right on top of it, and they will be. So the drain on the police department has to be considered, that, you know, even if they understand that there's a gun club right there, they're still going to call. I mean, they're shooting at 10 o'clock at night, which I understand. But, you know, if you're living right there, you're not going to understand that. So that's number one concern. But in speaking about that, like, we hear the gun club and, you know, we're used to it and things like that. But we have a buffer. We have that, 18 feet high, no, 60 feet high hill between us and the gun club. So it's a buffer. So once that goes, we are going to be impacted. We're going to be hearing that. We don't hear it as much. We do hear it, but now we're going to be hearing it a lot. Berm or no berm, we're going to hear it. And so that eventually is going to trickle down to our house values and how easily it is for us to sell our homes. And that has not been considered at all. So that's the second thing. And the third thing is that it kind of relates to that, is that, you know, obviously we bought these homes because we live in the wilderness and it's beautiful here. And we have our privacy, we have, you know, it's relatively quiet. But we were surprised that basically that hill was going to just be taken down. And then we were going to get a berm, which is only 20 feet high. And so we're losing privacy. You know, our neighborhood is going to be much louder, and, you know, all the natural habitat is going to be gone. So what we'd like to do, you know, or I'd like to do, I don't want to speak for my neighbors, but is to preserve as much as we can of that hill. 20 feet is really not enough. And I know you have in your plan, you have two houses right at the very, you know, beginning of that street that goes from Deerfield into the development. And I just wonder, you know, there's some concessions being made to the gun club for that road going in. isn't there going to be any concessions to the neighborhood to mitigate some of the impact to us and just losing the reason why we bought our homes? And that's why we bought our homes. And so if someone's going to be buying our homes, all that benefit is gone. And in addition, we're going to have a lot of noise from the gun club. So I would like to see if we could preserve as much as we can of that hill without making it into a berm, but make it look natural and elevating it so we don't have just 20 feet, maybe have 30 feet or whatever it is, and we keep that natural hill as much as possible. So.
You all set?
Yeah, actually, I'm sorry, one other thing. Sorry. Maybe sorry you asked that. But the other thing is that, you know, that getting back to that 500 feet, that they can't shoot within that 500 feet, but there is an exception to that. So how much of that exception is there? I mean, can they fire within 5 feet?
I haven't seen, all I see is what Officer Luke Parlon sent along, and it's a 500 feet discharge from any house. You can seek the owner's permission under 500, but over that, you have the right. So that's all I've seen. I haven't seen any of the exceptions that the gun clubs are allowed. I've even heard the fact that maybe if they're shooting away from the house, they're allowed to do that, but I haven't seen anything to that effect. All we have is what was given to us by the police.
Yeah. See, the thing is that, I mean, this is a huge development. It really is. And I don't know, I just think that if the town could just think about this, you know, we just have one person shooting the wrong way, and we've got a tragedy. You know, it's so close to the gun club, so close. And if something like that happens, the gun club loses, you know, and obviously is a danger to the people living there. I don't know. It just seems to me that it's too much of a risk. And honestly, I'm not sure how, you know, if people are going to be buying these homes. I mean, it's so loud. It is so loud. So that's it for me.
Okay, thank you. Who else would like to speak?
Yeah, sure. This is Michael Leiden. I'm speaking on my fiance's Zoom account, Malia Ritz. We're located at 522 Lincoln Road next to the Lampertis. Just very quickly, we were not aware of the Saturday meeting that took place at the gun club, so we would just like to request, you know, notification in the future. Also, just very quickly, to respect everyone's time, certainly not a zoning expert or anything to that degree, but, you know, just it seems clear based upon the conversation, looking at the plans here, this feels more like an excavation that has housing elements to it rather than a housing project that has excavation to it. 40 truckloads a day for nearly 600,000 cubic yards of gravel is not, in my opinion, incidental. And that's all.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, speaking. Find it?
Dick Gellerman.
Okay.
Good evening. I just want to introduce myself. I'm an attorney. I represent the owners of the property, not the applicant. I just tuned in to watch and thank the board for its time, and I just want to say hello to everybody.
Okay, you're all set?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, okay, you faded off. I didn't know if you went mute on me. Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Next. Anyone? Boy, we put people to sleep, huh? Wow. Jesus, Truax, you are awesome keeping people on the edge of this seat.
We had a lot more people on here. We're losing numbers.
You have the ability to cut them off?
Muted them.
You cut the Wi-Fi all up to Lincoln Road? Okay, well, with no one else having any other
Actually,
comments.
sorry, I do have one other thing. This is Kim Williams again.
Okay.
Yeah, the only other thing that I have is that I think that at the meeting that we had at the gun club, there was a mention that that they were going to mark off where that 20 feet was going to be along the perimeter, and that just hasn't been done yet. But that would be really good for us to know. Okay. All right, for that to happen so we can have an idea, but I mean, 20 feet is just not going to be enough. And the other thing is that maybe this is for the planning board, or I don't know, is like some things that are being said, like for instance, the sidewalk and other things. If the owner, the developer, whatever says that this will be done, how do we get that so that it's legal? Is it written into the plans or?
Yeah, what happens is he will have a approved plan showing everything and a decision which will reflect the plan. And the town engineer will calculate the cost to do this complete. Okay, and at the Davis-Bacon Act, which is more than they will have for the typical a non-union rate. And they will post a bond, an insurance bond, cash bond, which probably not, or a tripartite with a bank that will say, in the event that the developer goes under, walks away, that either the bonding company will come in and finish it. In the case of a monetary one, we would take the money and we will go out and the town would bid it out and finish it themselves, or the bank would step in. One way or another, it has to be finished per the approved plan and the approved decision.
Okay. And so are we going to have like a lot of meetings coming forward, going forward, or?
Oh, I would expect, based upon what you have right now, is they have conservation they have to go to, and conservation can move things around a lot. And you also have Board of Health. One of the things anybody out there to understand is in Mass General laws, Board of Health is a big, powerful board. And any subdivision must have a Board of Health approval. Board of Health doesn't approve it, doesn't go anywhere. We can approve it. Board of Health doesn't approve it, it's done. So they have to get that, plus all those other items that were mentioned by the various members of our boards, and some of the easements and some of the other issues with the police, and that will have to be worked out. And the easement I brought up tonight, which we'll be more than happy to send a copy to the applicants for their review. So we got a ways to go. And on top of it, the gun club right now, based upon adverse possession, that's a law in Massachusetts where if you use something for 20 years unabated, where nobody has said not to use it or whatever, you can claim that property as your own. And right now, it's been said that the road and next to it could be used as that, and also at the top of the hill where it's always been used for the Boy Scout campouts and the archery, that there is a few things that has to be straightened out too. So I think what you'll find is Rob and company putting pen to paper could probably move this along, but it's going to be the dealings with the board of the gun club and Walsh's. That could take 5 minutes, or that could take 5 years, or anywhere in between. I know Rob's quick with the pencil and paper and stuff, engineering wise, but as the rest of that, it could be a while. And I'm sure will wait a little bit to resubmit any plans until he gets a feeling or something he gets from the conservation and also the Board of Health. So yeah, we could go a few more rounds on this without a doubt.
And will the neighbors, the abutters, be notified for each meeting?
No, what happens is once you've been notified, that's it. You just have to pay attention to it. You can always go to the website and see, just Google up Town of Walpole, hit Planning Board, and on the lower right, it has future agendas, and you'll see it. But tonight, I'll tell you when the next meeting is, when it's continued to.
Okay.
So you can always have notice like that. We do have a rule, but I don't know if it's going to happen here. If you continue 3 times without doing anything, we make them read notice. so that you're not losing people, but we don't have to do that yet. And I don't anticipate it because never had it with this crew before. So we'll tell you tonight when it's continued to, and like I said, you can always look up online for it. And the other thing is, bear with us because regarding everybody out there is putting stuff online, they had issues with the website where Kate and even our IT guy couldn't get some of these plans up over the past week. I don't know if that's been solved yet, but it just wasn't getting on. And that's what we like to do, is so that everybody can pop their computer on and just scroll through and see everything here. So, okay, you all set?
Yes, thanks so much.
Okay. All right. With all that being said, I think Rob and who else is left? Still checking to see if Brian is okay. You're still there. Okay. All right. With that being said, what's our drop dead date? Okay. Let's see here. Okay. What are we? 90 days is up on on May 31st, correct? All right. Mr. Truax, speaking on behalf of the applicant, we're gonna need extension. Unless you think you're gonna get this all done by next time, but that's not 2-week requirement. So what do you got?
When we continue until?
Well, right now, you got May 31st, but you can't make the 2 weeks we require, so we need extension well beyond that so we can schedule it.
So, okay, I'm gonna let the attorney tell me. So we're going. When are we scheduling the next meeting till, Jack?
Right now, we're not, because you haven't given me a date. See, you give me an extension, then I give you a hearing. It kind of goes hand in hand. How, right?
Well, why don't you tell me when your hearings are, and we'll give you an extension beyond one of those.
Okay. Well, we have a very heavy night on the 17th. I don't think you want to hang out for that because everybody focused in on that. I don't even know if you have one on that night, Rob. Do you?
May 17th? No.
No. June 17th.
Oh, you're all the way into June?
Yeah. You guys are busy. So we got one on July 13th. July 15th, I'm sorry.
What are you only meeting once a month?
Well, I could get real mean and meet twice a month and really make it hard, or yeah, we got. What's the date? July 1st? Oh yeah, we meet. Okay. When are we meeting? The 1st or the 13th? We're meeting the 15th. Okay, the 15th is what we got in July, Rob.
We can't. You're saying we can't do the June 17th meeting?
Well, first off, I'm not going to put 800 people. We can do it for 20 minutes because I'm going to limit people. Tonight you had an hour, two,
right,
2.5 hours. You had a great night coming out, but with we got 4 others. We're not going to meander for we did this long and each one to be 2 in the morning.
Let me ask the applicant what he'd like to do on that. I'm not going to make that call. Let me just ask him.
Okay. When are you going to ask him now?
Okay. Why don't we take if we could do the June 17th, take the half an hour, and then we'll talk. At that point, we'll see what we
that's all I'll be given. I don't want to do. All right. Here's the deal. If you come back and stuff isn't done, we'll just go to the July because I don't want to put up with stuff incomplete. Okay. How many we got on that date, Kate? Yeah, we have 2 subdivisions. So, okay, we'll give you half hour on June 17th.
Okay.
At 7:15.
And we'll give you an extension till the end of June. Is that sufficient for now?
No, it has to go to the end of July because we're not meeting until the 15th of July. You think you're going to be all done next time on the 17th of June?
Sure.
Want to bet?
No.
I'll put you $1 for every yard of gravel over 400,000. You said there was. All right, give it through the end of July.
So let me just check with him. He's on the meeting.
Yeah, that's all set with the applicant. I just want to chime in and say that.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, we're glad that everybody's happy. Now, gonna sound like a real mean man, but this has been going on for quite some time. So, I mean, let's just take it easy. So, you're gonna give it to us through when?
End of July.
Okay. Okay, I'll make a motion to accept an extension up through July 31st, 2021. Okay, so I have a second from one of my members.
Second,
Second, I got Katie. Hey, all those in favor? Katie?
aye.
John?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
Jack? Aye, okay, we got it to them. We got June 17th at 7:15.
We'll send you a letter on that as well.
Yes, we hope to get that. Yep, we'll need that.
Yeah.
Right? So, you all said and done?
Did we continue the hearing to the 17th? I'm sorry.
Yes, we did.
Okay.
7:15.
Mr. Chairman, if I could raise one other matter,
Yes.
the filing fee from the prior.
Whoa. That has nothing to do with this. It's not on our agenda.
Well,
You're gonna have to
I believe.
No, it's not on our agenda. This is about this new filing. If you're gonna go on the filing fee, you should have to do that separate. And that's gonna be done at just other business, because it doesn't need to be done in a public forum or, a open public meeting, so.
So how should we go about bringing that to the board's attention? I sent the letter, and
Send a letter and all your backup and documentation to tell us why you think it should happen.
okay.
So you keep it separate from the subdivision. You don't want to get it tied into there. It has nothing to do with it. And more importantly, it wasn't on the agenda tonight, so we don't want to break any open meeting laws.
Very good.
Can I ask one thing of Brian before he goes? So on the gravel removal operations plan, one of the things you guys bring back for information, can you just make sure you cite the sections that you intended to cite? Because the ones that were on there went somewhere else, so,
We can absolutely do that, and that's entirely reasonable.
thank you.
Okay, and this is a question I have for Kyle. Still there, Kyle? Did he leave?
Oh, he's here.
All right.
You're testing me. Yes, I'm here.
Just put in I'll sign your time sheet for the overtime. Sarah brought up.
Remember, it's time and a half, double time after 9.
Yeah,
Go
okay.
on.
Yeah, you're watching TV. Who are you kidding? Hey, Sarah brought up something about the consultant for the gravel removal. What is your opinion right now?
That's the board's wish. If you want to bring in outside expertise on this, that's fine with me.
I understand it's our wish, but do you think it's needed beyond what you normally do, or how? Or do you think we should have it anyway? What do you?
Well, we don't see a gravel operation like this. I don't know. You tell me, did you do it in Wisteria? There was a comparable subdivision, similar soils. Did you bring in outside reviewers on that?
No, not at that time, but also there wasn't any houses around, but also that was a different story where that's still got to get straightened out on this. On Wisteria, we had the old Indian Hill, they used to call it. It was a big wide field, and that had the gravel where if you go there, and the houses, the Walshes could have got them closer to the river and would have destroyed a lot of the trees. They could have built a lot closer than they did. And the trade-off with everybody concerned, I remember the neighbors, is we have an open field we're looking at now. So what difference does that make? And everybody wanted to keep that extra distance between the river and the water. And at that time, Wisteria was phased over, I think 4 years, because that's when the Walshes, we had them do the road from Plimpton Street over to East Street. And they'd been mining that for, Carl, I think for years. I think they were mining it when you were first here. And I'm not even sure if they're 100% done, but I think probably in the last year or two. So, and as they've developed, it wasn't like gangbusters all at once. So this one is a little bit different. Plus, what they were taking down wasn't as significant impact on anybody because of where it was. So, all that being said,
I mean, I would never be one to discourage another set of eyes on this thing. I mean, there's a lot of things that, you know, I've been out, I've walked this site with Rob, we've observed soils. You know, we've got a pretty good handle on where the groundwater table is. We've seen enough of it. You know, it's, I guess I'd say, okay, what part of it are we worried about, that the hydrologic aspect of it, or are we worried about getting the proper conditions and controls over the proceedings of the work? You know, which area do you think we need help in? So like I say, I'd be a fool if I didn't, wasn't okay with having another set of eyes on this thing.
okay. I'm not gonna speak for Sarah, but my own opinion is, yeah, you can handle what we do normally, Kyle, no problem. This is similar to what I deal with in Boston. We have to go to Boston Traffic and you have to tell them how you're gonna do it, your routes and everything else. It's more of when you put the dirt on the truck or while you're taking out and how that all operates. That's a whole nother thing that's really not part of subdivision rules and regs. It's part about how this is gonna happen. And that's what I would be looking for. I don't know, Sarah, please speak.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's just outside of what we typically do. And I just, you know, our duty is to protect the town and the residents. So, I just feel that me personally, I'm not, you know, I'm not totally comfortable that I'm gonna do the residents justice. And so, you know, because of that, I want to ask for a consultant, to make sure that things are done right and that, you know, the town and the residents are protected.
Okay, what I've seen.
Going back to what you said and said, you know, it's so much the gravel on the truck, and said, I'd welcome a peer review on the traffic plan and on the gravel removal routes and on those routes. So that, you know, transportation's not my strong suit. So, you know, so the answer is quite clearly yes on that.
Okay, and what I'm looking for, just so even the applicant understands, is if you do stuff in Boston or a lot of the jobs, they have a mitigation plan that includes like daily street sweeping. They're talking about putting crushed stone at the end. A lot of them will have wheel wash stations and that type of stuff. That's the stuff we don't deal with. And like you're doing a big hole in Boston, the worst thing is watching the mud go down the street or the dirt. And that's, I think, what we're looking for is somebody to write that up or review what they presented and make recommendations so that someday down the road that Lincoln Street doesn't look like a gravel road as they're leaving, and we don't have any teeth in which to make the developer clean it up. So, okay, I'll make that as a motion that we seek a consultant for the gravel removal operation. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, second from Phil. All those in favor, Phil?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Katie?
Aye.
Jack? Aye. And, okay, Kyle, if you don't have any names, I might be able to find a couple that I've seen on plans, and we'll see what's up with that. And
I'd welcome your input, Mr. Chairman.
Is
okay,
that something we would do sooner rather than like get that out there now and start getting a quote from someone to give you an overview of what they're gonna do? We can get that going.
that's what we want to do. Yep, that's what I
Okay.
want to find somebody. And you understand what we're doing.
Yep. Yeah, that's fine.
I don't care if the machine falls over in the pit. Once it
No,
gets on,
I think it's fine. I think, yeah, like Carl said, I agree with you guys. It's fine. We're all in agreement.
you agree with sweeping it every day?
I think it's gotta be swept. If there's dirt there, you gotta sweep it.
Okay.
Can't track it out on what you said.
You
That's
guys-
the purpose of paving part of the road at the beginning, so that they, you know, hopefully they're not tracking out to Lincoln. And if they are, they gotta sweep it every day.
Okay. One last thing is, when will you be filing for your scenic road hearing?
I don't know that we need to.
Lincoln Road's a scenic road.
The road, yeah, but it's only if we're working within your right of way. Correct?
Yeah, but if you're gonna take any trees down, you got roads coming on from Lincoln Road, correct?
Lincoln Road's on our property.
Okay, how about it's on your property, okay?
The portion where we're tying in is about 20 feet onto the property.
Okay.
That's why we're gonna deed you a piece of land when we do road acceptance.
Deed it now, and then we'll require
Then we can do the scenic road. It's a good
Okay.
point.
I know, okay.
Should have A&R'd that piece out, huh?
Yeah, should have. Okay, with that being said, we will continue this public hearing on June 17th at 7:15. And, okay, that's it for, this hearing.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
I don't believe
Bye.
we have anything else on the agenda, so I'll make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second,
We got John that time. All those in favor? John?
aye.
Katie?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
Phil?
Aye.
Jack? Aye. The ayes have it. Okay. See you in a couple weeks.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.